We live, baby. We
Yeah,
live.
we are.
No
The video.
intro.
What's up, everybody? A little
I will
technical
just say
difficulty.
this, okay? Like if I were the one handling the tech aspect of it, you'd be like, okay, Bender, old man River over here trying to do it. You, Coop,
Right.
what
You
the
would
hell's
think.
going on
You
here?
would. You would
Welcome
think
to
we would have.
Alarm Fantasy Football.
You would think this is actually. I think our 28th one of these drafts, if you count last year. You would think we'd have that figured out by now. You would
You would
think we would
think.
have that figured out by now. But you know what, dude? We're always learning. We're always growing. We'll figure it out one day. And today is a special day on the show because it's family draft day. We've got a bunch of members from Fantasy Alarm. We have me, we have Howard, we have a couple people from the industry. Maybe they'll pop on to join us. Maybe they won't. We'll have to see as we go along here. But that's what we're doing today. What I'm doing today with my draft is something a little different. I wrote an article this week on contained drafts versus tournament drafts, right? Contained drafts to me are these drafts, with just 12 people, and you're only playing against the people you play with. I also use that mentality for single entry drafts, right? Like if you get in the Greyhound now, you only get one entry. So you maybe are a little more conservative. I'll also use a little more conservative approach for drafts like the Mitten. The Mitten is, as you DFS folks, Howard, might say, kind of like a cash game where 50% of, look at, here's Cash, and there he is. He's ready. It's
God, do you want me to start this draft or what?
Get it started. Get it
Let's
started. So
start
that's
it.
what I'm
I'll
doing
share the
today.
draft board now. As I get this all up and running here. Now
Right.
finish what you were saying about your style and everything.
We're going to kick this off. I wrote an article on how to draft in those drafts, the tournament style drafts versus the contained drafts, right? And even though this one's a contained draft, we do contained drafts every week. I personally am going to lean into some of those tournament styles in this particular draft. Maybe I'll pivot to some guys I don't usually take. Maybe I'll get real aggressive with the stacking and the schedule and things like that. So I'll let you know what I'm doing along the way that goes that way. But for the most part, we're doing what we usually do. Family draft here. Bender's going to pull up the screen as soon as we get it, but here's the draft order for those watching or listening. Rotobuzz guy, Howard Bender picking number 1 overall. Fatty McFat's at 2. Luke Costell, that's Mile High Luke in the chat. Some guy 10, who brand new to these drafts with us. Shout out to some guy. He's over on the Discord. He's getting in for the first time with us. Bum Rush Bros, that's our guy Tip Major. He does a show with Bob Harris. He does one with Greg Kellogg. He's crushing it right now. Hamburglar at 6. Gator J, another industry friend from Club Fantasy FL at 7. Mongo, who is a guest and a friend of our good buddy Luke. We have Coltastrophe in the draft today. That's Rex. My guy AZG, that's Alex Gilday. I'll tell you a little bit about him later on. And then Jay Gordo at the 12 spot, rounding us out here. And then, of course, I'm picking 2 right now. I'm picking 11 myself. So that's it, Howard. And we got the draft up on the board. Who did you go with at 1?
Listen, talk me out of Christian McCaffrey at number 1.
Can't do it.
Again, I get it. Everybody's going to go bonkers over wide receivers, and it's going to be tough seeing what's coming back my way. Although shout out to Fatty McFats for the Breece Hall pick. My dude, I love that pick. But listen, Christian McCaffrey, we say it every year. The dude just produces over and over and over again. So why wouldn't we? Just take him number 1. There's no reason to. And if anybody's like, oh, well, shared backfield or splitting time or, injury prone.
Yeah, you just got to go. I mean, I'm
Tell me
telling
how
you.
else to lose a fantasy football league.
All right. I'm in. I mean, I'm taking McCaffrey at 1, to be honest. The thing is, you don't have to, and we talk about differentiating, but you don't have to differentiate by taking somebody else at 1, because just do a bunch of these drafts. You'll get, if you get the 2nd, the 3rd, the 4th, the 5th pick, 6th, 7th, you have all the opportunity in the world to take wide receivers. There's just, for me, there's no reason. And I've done enough from the 1 and the 2 and the 3 to know that the wide receivers that you're going to see when it comes back to you are just fine. You're going to be just fine at wide receiver. I can tell you that. And sometimes I'll go McCaffrey and another running back and a wide receiver there, and I do just fine. So I'm not at all worried about it. McCaffrey, he's just too good for me, man. He's too good. And as long as Shanahan's willing to roll him out there every snap, which he shows no sign of stopping, then I have no problem with it.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm with you.
JC Thomas in the chat. That's our guy, Mongo, our guest. And my guy, AZG here, that's my buddy, Alex. And he's Howard. He's kind of been he's the Ernie Adams of my operation. He's just, he has no interest in writing articles or doing shows or doing whatever. He's just a great fantasy player and a great strategist. And, not everybody has to write articles and do stuff. There's guys like Chad Schroeder out there who, play a lot of high stakes and do really well at that. And, not everybody is going to be a big radio star like Howard Bender,
Am I a big radio star? All right. Cool. I'll take it.
I'd say drive time radio on Sirius XM. I'd say you're a big radio star. Yeah. So for those listening, here is how the first round shook out. You had Bender with CMC, Breece Hall, CeeDee Lamb, Justin Jefferson, Bijan Robinson, Tyreek Hill, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Garrett Wilson, Jamar Chase, AJ Brown, Jahmyr Gibbs, Puka Nacua. I mean, that's just pure chalk, right, Howard? Nothing.
I was just gonna say that was probably. I mean, we can go back and look at last week's draft, but I'll bet you that those exact same players went in the top 12. Like, it's really kind of turning out. I'll tell you what. Like, out of that crew, like, who's the one who, like, maybe Puka Nacua is the guy who doesn't stay in the first round in every draft. But I mean, you're sitting here and you're looking at him going, on the wheel right there to Gordo. And it's like, yeah, I could have taken Jonathan Taylor first and then Puka Nacua. It doesn't really matter. But, those top 11 names, I feel like at some point or another, they're all just locked into the first round. I don't know anybody else who jumps into the first round. Do you?
No, well, I was going to say that's so funny that's how it goes down, where I took Drake London and he almost always goes in the second round, but I never see him jump into the first. You never see him go there. Like, it's very strange how it's the same, even when
I've seen him go like early third. I've seen people kind of crap on that with Drake London. That to me is probably that's a pick earlier than his ADP, I'm sure.
I took him a little early there, but I mean, most of these guys, like you pointed out, Taylor and Barkley go there, but I don't usually see Olave, Ayuk, maybe Marvin Harrison Jr., but no, that's mostly the crew right there. That's mostly the crew. I guess if I had to pinpoint anything that was maybe slightly different, Garrett Wilson at 8, but there's no problem with it. Like, if he was going to go in the first round, I probably would have taken him if he was there. So.
I mean, it just, to me, it's not the names. It's not the order so much. It's the names in the first round. Like, you can make an argument pro or con any player to, why you took him in the, why did I take Garrett Wilson ahead of Jamar Chase? I can give you 10 reasons why you do and 10 reasons why you don't. Like, that to me is splitting hairs. But, when you're talking about like Chris Olave versus Garrett Wilson, then it's a different story.
Exactly. So what I'm doing with this draft, I'm going to start out best available, right? And typically I just go best available all the way through, especially when I'm doing a contained draft. I'm starting out best available, but I'm going to, like I said, treat this like it's a Best Ball Mania 5 or one of those big drafts, as I talked about in my article, and I'm going to lean into some of those strategies. So I'll be looking to, wherever possible, differentiate from what I typically do. And I've been drafting a lot of the same core guys. I'll be looking to lean into rounds week 15, 16, and 17, the matchups for those weeks, the weather, who's playing in a dome, who's not. And I'll start looking at things like, maybe getting a little more aggressive with the stacking. These are things that you have to think about when it comes to Best Ball Mania, maybe not so much a typical contained draft. I mean, I've been looking at it, Howard, and, you can go a little crazy, but there's a big difference, in my opinion, week 17 between drafting, let's say, stacking CJ Stroud and Stephon Diggs when they play the Ravens at home in a dome, week 17. All the bets in the world. First, how about this one, Howard? How do you feel about this matchup? Uh, Jim Harbaugh and Greg Roman are bringing their ground and pound show up to New England for a nice New England Winters game, week 17. Is it, you want to load it? You're gonna want to load up on that one in your best ball manias, Howard?
Probably not. Probably the way to avoid. I mean, listen, mapping it out is something you got to do. And before we continue, I just want to bring this out for everybody out there. If you're watching along here right now, listen, we've got draft like Andrew Cooper, exactly like Andrew Cooper. He's talking about now tournament drafting versus contained drafting. Check it all out here on the Fantasy Alarm Best Ball cheat sheet that Andrew Cooper put together. It's his rankings, it's his draft plans, it's everything that he puts together right here at your fingertips. Not to mention there are articles in there about his best ball sleepers and his best ball busts and some of Coop's picks. So there's plenty of action over here, and it's going to make you a better drafter, whether you're doing contain, whether you're doing tournaments. So I just want to make sure that you guys get that. I mean, you can get the cheat sheet right there, or you know what, you could also get just the All Pro subscription for just a couple of bucks more a month. There it is, right? The All Pro subscription over at Fantasy Alarm. And if you use go to fantasyalarm.com/win, or you hit that QR code, use the promo code Let's Go, and we'll give you 50% off your first month, and everything else pays for itself. Coop.
That's a secret. That's a secret. Get the All Pro. Get the All Pro, because then you get the best ball draft guide. You get the NFL draft guide when it comes out. You get the NBA draft guide. You get the NHL one. You get them all. You know what I mean? It's, yeah, you get everything. And when you, like, if you were to add up the individual costs of all those, just get the membership. Not to mention, that's how you get in drafts like us, right? Like, we got the guys, Hamburglar, Jay Gord, everybody hanging out in the chat, and we get these going. So very cool stuff. Get set up with us. I am on the clock now.
Yeah. Are you still on your best player available? I love the Cooper Cup pick.
I am. And I'm going to do this.
Ooh.
I'm going to do that.
Oh.
That's what I'm doing. And I'm taking him over Josh Allen. And I'll tell you that, I have them in the same tier. I have Josh Allen ranked ahead. But to be honest, I have a lot. If I'm taking the first QB off the board, I've been taking Josh Allen a lot. I have no Jalen Hurts. So this is a move that I'm doing to diversify a little bit. I'm diversifying to get set up and give myself, a standalone guy that had 15 rushing touchdowns last year, and give myself some upside. So that's the first move that I'm making with this tournament mentality in all these. And I'm basically looking at it as if my family drafts that I've done so far are all best ball mania. Right, because I mean, I've done a lot of drafting very, very similar guys so far, Howard. I have a lot of, a core group that I believe in, and you want to do that, but you got to differentiate. You got to differentiate sometimes.
Well, that's one of the things, and I say this to people all the time. When I used to run the mock draft army, which was a ton of fun doing the mock draft army, because you were trying out different strategies and everything like that. But one thing that I always said, before you jump into an actual draft, like your full draft, do a mock draft where you don't take any of your guys, not a single one of your players, like all your sleepers, because what you want to do is you want to see what happens if you're not the one taking them. Do they fall a little bit? Are you the person who's giving them a little bit more draft helium? Like so if you do one of those drafts, like, right before your main draft, it really kind of helps you out there. And so, when you're doing a draft like these, here in the best ball ones, it is good to mix it up sometimes. Absolutely.
Yeah. I'm so scared though, Howard. I'm so scared to do that in a best ball mania. And here's why, because we are kind of public facing figures. If I were to draft a team that's all the guys I hate, and then that team wins $1 million.
No. I didn't say the guys you hate.
Okay. I thought you were saying go that way. I was like, if I thought about doing that once, just to take all the guys I never take.
What I'm saying is like, you're sitting there and it's like, you're doing a draft, and like, if you keep clinging to like mid-round guys,
Yes.
right? And so like all of a sudden you're not diversifying at
Right.
all. Like it just enables you to do that. I'm on the clock. We got somebody coming in here to join us. So I'm going to let you take the reins while I make some picks here, Coop.
Absolutely. Yeah. And what I wanted to say there is that if I were to do that team that's just everybody I don't like, then I need to explain to people that I won $1 million by fading myself. And there'd be nothing more embarrassing than that. Right. So, yeah, but definitely differentiate a little bit. You have to honestly leave into account the possibility that you're not going to get everything exactly right. In fact, you're not. That's why you differentiate a little bit. You lean into the range of outcomes. Here, I'm going to bring on a good buddy of mine, a guy I love checking out his show over with Bob Harris. I love hopping in with him and Greg Kellogg. They're talking about the history of fantasy football. This is my buddy Tip Major coming on board. He's definitely here. There he is, dude. And
What up? What up, fellas?
What
you're
up, Tip?
bum rush bros in this draft. Is that your yeah?
That's my name, man. That's been my name since 2005, man. I've always
Incredible.
kept up with that name.
Yeah, I mean, Howard's Roto Buzz guy. I'm Sauce McFloss. Sometimes you just gotta
Sauce
have an
McFloss.
alter ego out here, you know.
Heck yeah, man. So what's up, fellas? I'm actually doing a draft with you guys. I can't believe this is awesome, man. I'm really excited. I went
You're on the
running back
clock
heavy.
here coming up right now. So
I know.
walk us through it. Walk us
It's
through
all
the
this
picks,
pressure,
dude.
man. It's all this pressure. I went running back heavy. I know it's a best ball. I'm just really big on these running backs now. I'm usually a zero RB guy, but I've been trying a lot of these running back strategies. I like George Pickens a lot this year. So I think with my next pick, I'm definitely going to go wide receiver. You know what? I believe in what's going on in Tennessee. I really do. I don't know if they're going to be a division winner or anything like that, but I love Calvin Ridley. I've always really liked him. I like what he did last year, 1,000 yards in his year back with the new team. I think he gets 1,000 yards again this year. I'm gonna get Calvin Ridley, man. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna
auto
do it.
drafted
And
Mark
you
Andrews.
just got auto drafted to Mark Andrews.
Oh, okay. I'll take him. That's fine. Hey,
honestly, I love Mark Andrews.
I like Mark Andrews a lot too. I'll take it. But I just gave somebody a nugget on Calvin Ridley. But I mean, I'll do it. I'll do it. I guess I got to be quicker on these things.
30-second clock.
30 seconds. Okay.
I've gotten tripped up on that a number of times already. The first broadcast, I think I got auto drafted like 3 or 4 times on that. But now that you're off the clock here, Tip, let's talk about the fact that as a predominantly zero RB guy, do you go Bijan, ETN, Josh Jacobs here? Because of just strictly like there's the value sitting there for
that
you.
Value,
you like these guys.
Yes, I love Bijan. Obviously, he's a top pick for me. Travis Etienne, sneakily, I'm really big on him this year. Had a really good year last year. And Josh Jacobs, I think going over to Green Bay, I mean that right there just really opened up something for him. I hate losing him as a Raiders fan. But I think that offense, the way that they're going to run, and Matt LaFleur, I mean, he wants to run the ball. He's going to run the ball. A lot of people are going to see that. So I'm really big on Josh Jacobs as well. And I mean, I saw him there in the 3rd round. I was like, oh, let me pick him up. Let me scoop him up. Again, I wanted Calvin really, but I'm happy with Mark Andrews too. It's a little higher on tight ends. Hey, we got the tight end guy here and Coop. And tight ends have gotten really deep. We talked a little bit about that when you came on the show with Greg Kellogg and I. But tight ends is getting deep, so I wouldn't. I mean, I got auto pick there, but I usually wouldn't go that early on tight ends.
I love Mark Andrews, man, and I honestly, Josh Jacobs, where he goes, it makes no sense to me. It makes no sense at all. I mean, you look at it, ascending offense, great player.
Why are we letting the cat out of the bag on that?
We got it. We're because we're men of the people. We're men of the people. So I love that.
I was waiting to see if Ridley was going
to come
back
to the
round, and you douched him, Coop.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'll tell you, and this is how it works. You know what they say? Hurt people hurt people.
I see.
And I thought that I could, because I'm picking at 11, and I'm looking at I'm looking at our guy Gord there, and I'm thinking, okay, all I have to do is I'll take the wide receiver here, and Kyle Pitts will get back to me in 2 picks. he immediately scooped Kyle Pitts, which is what I wanted to do there. So I did it to myself. I had to punish you because I didn't get my next guy. So way she goes, buddy. Sorry.
I'm sorry it has to be this way, Tip. I'm really sorry. Let me apologize.
It's all good. Hey, when I see Coop at the expo, we'll have a word about
That's
that.
right, too. Yeah, we'll have to have words there. We have plenty of drafts, and I'll tell you though, that's why we do these drafts now. That's
on the clock right now. Here we go. 25 seconds left. We don't want him to get back-to-back on it.
Right. No, we are not going to do that. So you know what I'm going to do? I really like. I think I'm going to do it. Let's see here.
Yeah, steal lifer sniped me, so I had to snipe you. That's how she goes.
There we go. We'll get Kyler.
I was just eyeballing that one, man. I was just eyeballing it.
I'm going Kyler. Yeah, I love him. I love him this year, man. Especially with adding Marvin Harrison Jr. Come on now, like this is gonna be nice for him. I'm loving it.
I wrote an article on him specifically on the notion that in the modern era, there's so many stats, there's so many metrics, there's so many analysts, right? The edges that we can find are tough, right? When I went on your show, Greg Kellogg was talking about how when he started, air yards wasn't even the thing.
Yeah,
fathom how you would calculate that, and then now we have all that stuff. So I look for new edges that aren't out there. And one of the big edges I find is perception. And with Kyler Murray, especially from casual, real NFL fans versus like fantasy gamers, the perception is not good of this player, right? Like that he's not a leader, that he's not tall. You know what I mean? Like that he plays too many video games, like all these things. But the fact of the matter is that when I go into my database and sort quarterbacks all-time fantasy points, this guy is number 4, top 5 all time in fantasy points per game, right? When healthy. So for me, I don't care. I don't care if the Cardinals lose every game as long as this guy is running around doing his thing, right?
Right. Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, I feel like you got to take the reality out of football when we're drafting. A lot of people keep that reality in there. They're like, oh, he's too short. Oh, this or that, But, man, look, the guy's a baller. He goes out there and scores points. Then you got Trey McBride as well, so –
right. He runs around. So nice. As long as he's doing his little thing, running around and playing hucky-chucky football, then I don't care. I don't care. I don't care how many kill streaks he gets on Call of Duty or what he does in his time off. And I talked about the funny thing about that is that like you see all these other guys, like you see Baker Mayfield at a baseball game and he shotguns a beer and everyone's like, yeah, that's my quarterback. That's my guy. But then Kyler Murray stays at home and plays video games, and that's a problem. I mean, like, what are we doing? Dude? It's like it's not like he's at the nightclub or anything, right? Like,
right.
It's a day off.
Dude, I will take my players sitting at home playing video games all day long.
Yeah, they're not out doing stupid stuff, right?
Right. Gronk, diving off a boat. It's like the things that some of these guys were doing or do compared to that. Yeah, I'll give you that for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah. So Bender, what'd you do at the swing? I'm just kidding.
So I grabbed another running back in Zamir White. Was feeling a little short over there, having only just taken Christian McCaffrey. I grabbed a little Brian Thomas Jr. there because usually what I do is I end up like in that spot and I grab one of the 2 wide receivers who just went off the board next, Keon Coleman or Jamison Williams. I love the Jamison Williams call here. I'm a big fan of what they did with him in Detroit. I'm a big fan of the fact that they brought him along slowly. And Dan Campbell even said, I'm bringing him along slowly so that he can develop into being more than just that deep threat. And I think he takes that next step this year. So I love that pick. I love that grab.
Appreciate that. Yeah. No, I do. I'm really big on J-Mo this year, man. Amon-Ra is my favorite player to watch these days. I love watching his game. He's so cerebral, so quick. Just he's not the fastest, but man, if J-Mo can be developed into that guy, man, sky's the limit for this offense and for him.
Yeah, I have never ever been more wrong on a player than I was on Amon-Ra St. Brown. I have to admit it that, we're not going to get everything right, but boy, I was out on that guy. And, there's a lot of reasons why, just, the 4th round pick and the doesn't really have size, speed. The guy's just a baller, man. He's just a baller. So you know what?
Man.
You're not gonna hit them all, but I was out, and I've come around. I've realized my mistakes, so I'm in. I just drafted. So in sticking with my theme today of drafting guys that I don't typically take, and Mile High points out in the chat that I'm taking the big turning approach. I just took Jake Ferguson, and I will say this: though I don't love his profile, not super fast, not super athletic, doesn't typically create for himself, but based on my own philosophy of being a top 2 target on the team and just needing to get 90 targets, right? He had over 100 last year. They didn't do anything, right? They didn't do anything. I thought this team was going to add a wide receiver. In fact, they lost Michael Gallup. It's just going to be Brandon Cooks and CeeDee Lamb and Jake Ferguson and Jalen Tolbert and Devontae Turpin. Like, I don't know. Let's say it could pull off some major trade and find some money somewhere. Like, people are saying trade for T. Higgins and Ayuk with what money? These guys say they're not going to play. They don't got the money for it. It's like, I think they're just going to have to roll with what they got. I've been drafting a lot of Brandon Cooks, but I'm going Ferguson. Tip, if you had to pick one to get the second most targets on the team, do you think it'd be Ferguson or do you think Brandon Cooks?
I still think it's going to be Cook. I think he kind of just they're going to try to move this ball, and I don't know how they're going to do it with their running backs. I know they got Zeke here just a few weeks ago or a month or two ago, but they're still going to try to move the ball through the air. Ferguson, though, I feel like be a good guy once they get down into those crucial situations or red zone. I do think Ferguson's the guy, but I mean, look, I was looking at. Brandon Cook is still only 30 years old, so he's right in the
crazy.
He's in his prime, and I think when the season starts, he'll just turn 31. So he's still can play. So and you talked about it. They got rid of Michael Gallup. He went to my Raiders. I'm excited about him being there. But that in of itself, I think does open up something for Brandon Cooks as long as he can stay healthy.
Yeah, Brandon Cooks is like 1 month older than Tyreek Hill. And Tyreek Hill,
it's crazy.
He's going as the wide receiver, 2, 3 most times. Like, it's not unrealistic that guy could have a big season. That's why I typically draft him. But again, I'm mixing it up a little bit with this one, going with Jake Ferguson. I saw, Rex Timotheus snagged our guy Christian Watson, drafting with these folks. And look at that, everybody! Round of applause, Howard Bender. Round of applause to Howard Bender. He backed himself into a corner, taking Christian Watson and Brian Thomas Jr. Does the right thing. Completely.
Christian Kirk.
Christian Kirk and Brian Thomas Jr. completes the stack with Trevor Lawrence.
Well, you said do and listen, this is a perfect example of how not to draft it, because you don't want to sit and force the stacks, and taking Purdy and Lawrence there definitely forces the stacks a little bit more. I wouldn't have done it had the rest of this room not completely douched me on the running back situation there. Javonte Williams, Jonathan Brooks, and Zach Moss all going right there in a row. Mongo, Gator, Hamburglar, up yours, and up yours, all in a row. You've now forced me into this. But I'll tell you what, here you go, Coop. I've got the San Francisco stack with McCaffrey and Debo. I've got the Jags stack here with Kirk, Thomas, and Trevor Lawrence. And now I'm just going to run through the rest of the way and take best guy available.
Not to mention both those teams. Our guest last week, Tyler O from FWB, both those teams have pretty juicy schedules for fantasy playoffs, right? So San Francisco championship week is playing Detroit. Whew. Fireworks, baby.
Fireworks.
And, Jacksonville's got a couple good matchups in there as well. Las Vegas, Tennessee. So, I mean,
Jacksonville also gets that nice little cushy, early to mid-season, hey, just go sit over in London for a couple of weeks and let teams come to you kind of a thing. I always like that. The first game is always a little, but the second game, Jacksonville just kind of sits in the pocket and they can do well.
Yeah, Rex is killing me, man. Cole Catastrophe on the board. I really desperately wanted Tony Pollard there, or Singletary. Honestly, with you, Howard, struggling at running back here. So we'll figure it out. Since we're going upside big tournament moves here, I'm gonna do this.
Dun 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 dun. Oh yeah.
Okay, Nick Chubb.
You ain't for only 16 in Best Ball Mania 5 And a lot of the big tournaments, so a lot of the big tournaments for Underdog, they set it up the same way, where 16.6% of the players get paid out. So anybody that finishes below that cutoff, and that goes for not just Best Ball Mania, but a lot of them, top 16% get paid out. Everybody else gets zip. So for me, if I'm using that mentality here, Nick Chubb, dude, if you're, Ricky Bobby, if you're not first, you're last. If Nick Chubb comes back, he's Nick Chubb. Maybe I'm in that 16%. If he's not Nick Chubb, doesn't matter if I'm 50% or 60% or whatever. And that's why it's important before you join these contests, just take a quick peek at the rules. Take a quick peek, see the big important things are the payouts. Check and see. The mitten, for instance. It's 60,000 people, 30,000 people get paid. That's the top 50% versus 16%. Look at the Greyhound. Greyhound, you get one entry. That's it. You can't do this whole 150 entries thing. You got to adjust your strategy. So check out, make sure you know what you're drafting. I hear a lot of sighing there.
Oh, yeah. I saw that with the Jared Goff pick, and Tip just went, oh, no. So.
Yeah, that was not good. That was not good, man. Who is that? Colts.
That's Coltastrophe. That's Rex
right.
Rex Timotheus in the chat.
All right, yeah. So Rex, you just got me, bro. That hurt.
Yeah,
it did hurt.
There he is. Yeah, Rex is a killer, dude. Speaking of killers, not in this draft, but in the chat and done. What's happening? Thank you everybody for hanging out with us. If you, we appreciate everybody that goes out, gets a membership, gets a draft, gets a best ball guide. That's the best way to support us. Go out and get a best ball guide now, the draft guide. It's the best way to help yourself. It's got all the rankings. It's got everything there. The other way, just go on YouTube, throw us a like, throw us a subscription. That's huge for us. It brings more people to the show, brings more people to the channel. If you're watching on Twitter right now, if you're watching on Twitch, where are my Twitch glasses at? Here we go. I actually wore my Twitch glasses to a party. We're going to rock these ones. If you're watching on Twitch, the Twitch gang with the Twitch glasses, what's happening? Go over to YouTube, like, subscribe. It's free. It helps us out a lot. So appreciate you guys. Watch on whatever you want, but if you feel like helping us out, go over to YouTube. And there you go. There's a promo code on the screen.
There's a little promo code for you also.
Yeah, if you do want to go on that. Yeah, and help us out. I mean, the biggest way is become a member, grab that draft guide, but yeah, throw a like on there. There we go. And a couple bing bang boom. Hamburglar, our guy Tip, and then the new guy, some guy taking 3 prime best ball players: Tyler Lockett, Mike Williams, Rashid Shaheed. Tell us why Mike Williams, especially perhaps a risky guy, but this is the format to take him, right?
Yeah, definitely a best ball. This is now going to be my 4th wide receiver. I really looked at Shaheed. I'm not gonna, I love Shaheed. I loved him last year, but Mike Williams, big play threat, big guy in an Aaron Rodgers offense. It's just really, for me, I was like Aaron Rodgers or Derek Carr. I'm going to go Aaron Rodgers, man. I know he may have very little time left, but I still think that he can get it done as long as he stays healthy. And I like Mike Williams going to the East Coast under that 1-year deal. It's a prove-it year for him. He still has an opportunity to get some money. So I really like Mike Williams in this spot.
Yeah, I mean he's been that guy his whole career. Like that's kind of why he gets hurt, because he just jumps up and gets it.
Yep.
No regard for himself, But hey, that in best ball, that's what you want. Those chunk plays, man. Guys that are capable of making big plays. Speaking of guys that are capable of big things, we got another member of this community drafting with us. I'm gonna pop him on right now. Our guy Gator J in the house. Drafting out of the 7 spot. Gator, what up, brother? How you doing today, man?
Yo, I'm gonna wait before Gator, you chime in, Coop. I'm gonna let you. I gotta focus on my team. My last 2 picks were such dog crap right there that I'm gonna go focus on my team. I gotta reanalyze what the hell I'm doing here. So
we're popping you behind the glass.
To Gator, I'll be right back.
I think that was probably a good move for Howard. He was talking all that shit a minute ago. Bye, Howard.
Wait a minute.
Get him out. Get him out. I'm pulling him out. Now, you wanted to be behind the glass. You gotta sit behind the glass and eat it. All right, Gator. What's up, brother?
What's happening, fellas? Good to see you, man.
Yeah.
What up, man?
How we doing, Tip?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm I was I saw the post this afternoon and I was like, yo, let me pop in. Let me see what's up with my guy Coop before I get into this Uno tournament with my daughters. So I was like, yeah, let's do it, man.
This
Oh,
is
so
chump
you-
change compared to that. That's
I
the
was-
real competition
yes,
of the
yes.
day. Yeah.
Come in here and kick Coop's ass, and then go over there and get your ass kicked.
Hey, you know what, man? Hey, you know what? These girls are getting better every time I play them. I'm like, man, I've taught them too well.
You gotta make
gotta be
sure that they're
careful
not
with
wearing long sleeves. They're already learning how to stick them. They stick those cards up their sleeve. And
right, man.
Yeah. So okay, I just took Brandon Cooks, the guy we talked about
Okay.
extensively already. I'm surprised that apparently no one else liked what we were saying about Brandon Cooks. But that's my load up. Then I took Zach Charbonnet, which I went kind of with a. If you look at my build so far, my running backs are Jahmyr Gibbs, super mega star, and then my second running back's Nick Chubb. Might not even play to start the season. Then I got Brian Robinson, fairly touchdown dependent. I needed somebody that's going to offer me a floor. So I looked around. I said, where are the most guaranteed receptions available from the remaining running backs? And that's where I found it, Zach Charbonnet. Gator, I saw that you took the opposite approach, went with a bruiser rookie in Ray Davis, man. What was the thought? What are your thoughts on our guy Ray there?
well, so kind of the same thought process that you brought up earlier. It's been real hard since the schedule come out to try to stack multiple players from the Lions San Francisco game. So I went into it going, okay, this is the kind of format I want to at least see if I can accomplish that. And not necessarily with a tournament like this or with a league like this, you don't necessarily need a bunch of correlation, but how this is a perfect opportunity to learn where these players are going to fall, how, from your draft spot, if you're able to get certain players to wrap around and come back to you. So I wanted to start off with seeing how many of the San Francisco and Detroit stack in that game, but that's just week 17, right? So looking at the playoffs, looking at week 15 and 16, there's a little bit of Buffalo in there. There's a little bit of Chicago in there. So that's kind of where I was looking at there in with Detroit and Buffalo. I believe it is week 15. Week 16, I believe it is, where they match up.
We've seen it. We've seen it in the past, man. We've seen this exact same thing in the past where down the stretch, the year before last, a legitimate league winner, I believe the best Ball Mania team that won that year had Devin Singletary. And when it got cold in the Ralph, he scored 6 touchdowns over the last 4 games. And I think he scored 2 more in the next playoff game too. Like, this guy was a touchdown factory during that stretch there. So
and that's the thought process with Ray Davis, right? I'm looking for touchdown upside. And in those cold weather games in Buffalo, I'm just wanting him to take a little bit of load off of Josh Allen and let Ray Davis take it up the middle.
Well, so Gator, do you think they are going to take some load off of Josh Allen? Do you think that? Well, maybe not the team. Do you think Josh Allen's going to take the load off himself? Because I feel like it's more of a Josh Allen thing.
No, I 100% agree with that. It's definitely going to have to be, between the ears and Josh Allen, right? He's got to sit there and go, I need to play, longer. I don't need to be, hurting myself, trying to run this ball. When I've got a guy that I can hand the ball to in Ray Davis and let him go up the middle. Now, yes, he's a little bit older, but they tried it with a couple of other older backs. They just weren't, they just didn't have the juice.
Yeah,
right? I think Ray Davis has that juice.
They want that piece, right? They've been trying to find that piece. I like to look for guys in those situations where they've tried for years to find, they tried Damian Harris, they tried Zeke Elliott, they tried Latavius Murray. Like, they want that piece.
Leonard Fournette.
Yeah, Leonard Fournette, right? The Colts did that for years with split ends. They couldn't find one opposite T.Y. Hilton. For going back to T.Y. Hilton, they just could not find that guy. They were trying Andre Johnson, all these guys. And now once they get Michael Pittman and they have that guy, they turn around and give him a bunch of money because they've been looking for that. If you look around at some of the moves and the ads that these teams make, you can make a lot of money doing that. Look at Doug Peterson shows up in Jacksonville and they go and get Evan Ingram. What do you think is going to happen there, right? A guy that played with Zach Ertz the entire time. I look around and some of these coaches switching teams, look and see who they bring in because it could be an opportunity for big money.
Yeah, 100%. This is going to be my last pick, guys, before I got to go because the girls are ready for this Uno tournament. I'm
It's
telling
time,
you.
man. Thank you for jumping in.
Man, no, appreciate you guys having me, but I'm going to go ahead and take Keandre Miller, man. I've been hearing a lot of good things about him the last couple of years, a lot this offseason. Alvin Kamara is still there, but he's also, he's got some years on him. But I love the way they utilize Alvin Kamara. Hopefully, they can try to have a two-back approach. I know they also got Jamal Williams there as well, but I'm going to take a shot on him. This is like my fifth, sixth running back, so I'll take a shot on him. See what happens.
I love it, man. I love it, dude. And hey, before you go, let us know where everybody can find you, what you got going on. I know you're always getting into some cool stuff, man. So,
yeah, man, I appreciate it. At Tip Major is the easiest way to find me on X. Also, I am, doing things on Instagram. I do a little bit on Facebook. Try to get into the Discord family, Discord chat. I'm in a couple of those. I also going to start writing some more articles here. My regular work days, work has been crazy and love it. It's been busy. But like I said, getting into that, getting back into some writing. And yeah, man, just ready for this football season. For me, football never dies, man. It's always on. As soon as the Super Bowl's over, you get more football. And, now we're right in the middle of it. And so, man, I'm excited. Can't wait. And I love drafting, love hanging out with you guys. So appreciate you having me on. Beautiful, look, my daughter wants to say hello. Come on.
Yeah, bring her on. Get her on here.
Hi.
Hey, how's it going?
You beat your father in this tournament, and may you get all the draw fours, reverses, and skips.
100%. They always do, man. I'm like, how do you get all these draw fours and stuff, man? They always do. They always kick my butt.
It's up the sleeve, man. Yeah, tell her we're rooting for her.
All right. Appreciate it, fellas. Thank you again.
Hey, buddy. Yeah,
all
thanks, man.
Peace.
We'll catch you. There we go. Yeah. So, hey, jumping back in. Continuing with I just made two picks. I specifically went out of my way to make them because I wanted to talk about two potential strategies for these big tournaments. And one of these picks is, I'll go with the Jermaine Burton one because it's the most obvious. All this rumbling about T. Higgins, right? You've got, Michael Pittman gets franchise tagged. He gets 3 years, $70 million. Nico Collins, they decide to just skip the whole, we don't want to deal with the tag, all this stuff. We're just going to give you your 3 years, $70 million right now. The big split ends, that's the going rate. And the Bengals know that now. And when there's just one guy gets that contract, you can weasel your way out of it. When two guys get the identical contract and they do the same thing as you, there's really no way for them to give T. Higgins less than that. So if they do decide to move this guy, you start wondering where the targets go. Jamar Chase is going to get his, and then who, right? Where, is it Mike Gesicki? Is it rookie Jermaine Burton? That's my thought process on that pick. So something to think about. And again, if T. Higgins doesn't go anywhere, well, you know what? Maybe I don't finish in the top 16% with this particular team, but I'm giving myself that shot, right?
Dig it. I dig it. All right.
I think that's pretty much the same thought process with Tyler Boyd, right? But the opposite, because of where him going to Tennessee. Yeah, right now it looks like he's third, maybe the fourth man when it comes to target shares. But what is it? Callahan, his OC from Cincinnati, coming down there, he's going to be basically, and I said this last night, but a quote unquote coach on the field. He's already going to know the plays. He's going to be able to help Levis out. Maybe he does earn himself a bit more target share moving up to that third, maybe even second option in front of Ridley.
Yeah,
I think bringing in Tyler Boyd is more an indictment about how Callahan feels about Treylon Burks. Like, you've got you bring in Calvin Ridley because he's Calvin Ridley, and you want to have that big huge threat opposite DeAndre Hopkins, who's not going anywhere. I mean, he's locked in. And so, the question is, do you go with Treylon Burks and hope that this kid stays healthy finally? Or do you actually, move on from him and Callahan bring in his guy, Tyler Boyd? And because let's face facts, like, how many times did you see, if T. Higgins missed a game or if Jamar Chase wasn't on the field, Tyler Boyd was always coming up big. He was always that go-to, like the play calling hit Tyler Boyd when you really needed to move the chains, right? And that's, I think that's a huge indictment. I think Tyler Boyd he is the number 3 in this one here. His presence to me kind of craps on Treylon Burks and Chigakonkwo for that matter.
Yeah, it hurts for Chig. It hurts for Chig, man, because you're hoping he would get those slot reps. Tanner Hudson even kind of snuck in and got some, but with Boyd there, he's going to own the slot. So
yeah, and just remember, just a few years ago, and by no means am I comparing Will Levis to Joe Burrow, but just a few years ago, I believe it was 2022, you had Jamar Chase get 130 plus targets. You had T. Higgins get 109, 110, somewhere in that range. And then you still had Boyd get like 90, 91. I mean, it was that close. Yeah. And again, I know it's Joe Burrow, but it's still
it's not though. It's not a question of Joe Burrow. It's the system that's in place. It's the play calling that Callahan's doing. And you didn't just beef up your receiving core in Tennessee to not have Will Levis slinging the rock as much as we saw Joe Burrow doing it. I mean, this to me is a system dictating the targets for sure.
Yeah, I mean, just last year against the Texans, I watched, the Bengals be without one of the top 2 wide receivers, and Tyler Boyd got 12 targets, right? Like for a while there, he was one of the top 2 wide receivers on the team, and he got back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons. And this is another guy like Brandon Cooks, younger than you picture in your mind. Like you picture him being like 35. He's 30. So, yeah, I have no problem with that pick. And again, it's very similar to the other pick I was going to talk about. I'm actually on the clock right now, so I'm going to make that pick here. But the other pick I was going to talk about was Cade Otton. And my thought process there for these big tournaments is I look around and I say, what guy benefits if either of the top guys get hurt, right? I look at a guy like Dallas Goedert. If either Devonta Smith or A.J. Brown get hurt, he's the next guy. I mean, Devontae Parker retired. Like they've tried to fill that third wide receiver spot. They're going to try a rookie, possibly Aeneas Smith. It's like, they don't really have that guy. I look at it with the Buccaneers with Cade Otton. If one of the 2 wide receivers gets hurt, I mean, I watched this guy have 19 targets in 2 playoff games this year. And same with Tyler Boyd. If somebody gets hurt, he's the guy that knows the system. He's the guy you can lean on and trust. In these tournaments, the big ones, you need help. You're going to have to get help somewhere. You're going to have to get lucky somewhere. Looking at those and saying, okay, should I draft a guy that is a 1-to-1 handcuff and needs one guy to get hurt? Or maybe some of these guys have multiple outs, right? Multiple ways. So Cade Otton is just a discount version of Dallas Goedert to me. I don't see why I would draft one that much farther ahead of the other.
Well, I think the other side of that coin too is especially for Otton, when you're looking at the numbers, you're talking about a guy that's on the field 93, 96% of the time.
Yeah.
The opportunity for him to, and that's again why he was there for 19 targets over a 2-game period, but he was on the field. He's always on the field.
I think he actually led all tight ends in snaps last year, straight up.
So, all right. So, I kind of dig that when you look at the situation in Carolina right now, because Cade Otton, what he was a part of that system that Dave Canales, did. You've got deeper. I mean, it's not as talented a wide receiver core as Evans Godwin, but you've got Deontay Johnson, you've got Adam Thielen, and then you've got, other guys in there like, Jonathan Mingo is still there. They drafted Xavier Legette. So I guess the question for me is, does Tommy Tremble or Jatavian Sanders, are either one of those guys worth anything, hoping that they become what Cade Otton was?
I like Sanders, man. I like Sanders. Tommy Tremble is fine. He's like kind of a gadget tight end. Reminds me a bit of Chris Cooley. You guys remember Chris Cooley?
Cooley,
yeah, where he can play a little fullback. He can take a handoff from time to time, but he's not really a pure pass catcher. Whereas this guy JT Sanders, man, the comps I have for him are like Hunter Henry and Zach Ertz, where the hands are rock solid. He didn't have a single drop last year on 67 targets. The hands are incredible. He's good in short area space. He can get separation in man-to-man. He's good in the red zone. The one area that isn't tremendous, which is the same thing for Ertz and Henry, is that he doesn't run like a 4.5. Like he doesn't have like difference-making speed. But if you get that guy 100 targets, 120 targets, he's going to catch he's going to catch a lot of them. Like this guy entirely capable of like 70% catch rate. So that's it, Howard. That's exactly it. The targets is the question. If he gets them, then he can be a star. And that was exactly how Zach Ertz has always worked. Zach Ertz has never broke off big plays, never really scored a lot of touchdowns, but his hands were so sure that one year he got 150 targets. You know what I mean? He was getting 120 targets because he could move the sticks. If JT Sanders proves to be that kind of a guy, then he could be a kind of tight end that does command 110, 120 targets.
Yeah, I think the other thing you need to look at too when it comes to these tight ends, and Coop, you probably do this on a regular, but when you go back to what he did last year in school, look at the year prior to that. It wasn't that great, right? And then he goes, 67 for 67 or whatever it was last year with a guy like Quinn Ewers who couldn't even get Xavier Worthy the ball.
Right. Yeah.
You know,
exactly.
Jatavion Sanders' hands are just, they've gotten so much better over the 2.5 years that he was in school. And he just, to me, it seemed like this was a dude that learned from his mistakes and stuck with it and stuck with it and stuck with it till he was that good.
Yeah.
And I'm super high on him.
He's got when you watch him, right? Because I'm a big numbers guy, but you have to watch the college guys because there's too much going on, right? You have to go and see how they play against good teams, how they play against bad teams. A lot of tight ends, to be honest, they catch the ball and they have no interest in running with the football. And they turn around and they say,
catch and fall.
Somebody come get me, right? Somebody come tackle me. That's not JT Sanders, right? He turns around and he thinks he's Antonio Brown all of a sudden. Like he's looking to cut it back. He's looking to find creases, right? When there's three guys there, he's going forward into a gap. Whereas, go back and watch Luke Schoonmaker at Michigan. No interest. He was just every catch he made was off. And not to bash him because I think he's a good blocker. I think he's going to be a good NFL tight end to some degree. But he just had no interest in being that guy. He would catch the ball off play action and go down. Whereas this guy Sanders, he's willing to make moves. That's why I just wish he was a little faster. If this guy ran like he ran a 4.69, which isn't terribly slow. But if he ran like a 4.6 flat or below, I would have this guy ranked. We'd be picking him in the second round of rookie drafts. So, but enough on that. I mean, it's just he's got to work with what he's got, and I think he can be an Ertz or Henry type guy. But as we've seen with Henry, if Hunter Henry doesn't get the targets, it's not anything special,
So, Coop, your last pick here. Where are you going?
I'm going back to the well on this one. Going back to a pick I've made many times with my very last pick. The starting quarterback
for Russell Wilson grab.
Yes, I took Jalen Hurts. So I did took a QB early, boom, and then I waited to the very, very end and took two guys that sometimes go undrafted. With pick 203 and 206, I took Derek Carr and Russell Wilson. And again,
so I've seen Coop make this move before. Gator, what do you like to do? Last round of the last pick of the draft. You're coming up on the clock soon. Talk us through it.
Yeah, this is for me. It's always about. I don't care what the floor is. The floor can be 0. This is completely an upside pick. Maybe one injury away. Maybe it's 2 injuries away. Who knows? But this is a guy that I was super high on in coming out of college. And I'm going to go ahead and take Jalen McMillan here. But landing spot in Tampa was, for me personally, I love it because of the situation going forward beyond the 2024 year. But also, again, 1 injury away. And the way I saw this guy in college, he's going to demand targets in the NFL. And picking him in the 18th round with a 210th overall pick, come on. Yeah, give me somebody with nothing but upside.
Yeah. And I'll tell you what, this team, right, first off, doesn't use a fullback. That leaves opportunity for a lot of 3 wide receiver sets. They don't really use a lot of 2 tight end sets all that much either. Maybe a little O'Keefe in here, but not really. So what we're going to see this year is Mike Evans, full-time outside outside split end. And then Chris Godwin, they just came out and said is going to play more slot. That leaves a pretty solid-sized outside role possible. It's going to be him versus Trey Palmer. And if he takes that role, he could have standalone value without the injury.
Yeah, and the funny part, whenever the OC came out and said that they were going to move Chris Godwin inside more, when you look at last year's stats, I believe he was playing out of the slot like 63% of the time anyway. So what are you going to do? You're going to put him in there at 74%, 75%, and that's going to leave that outside. And this, as much as I liked the kid out of Nebraska last year, I still think McMillan's going to take him over Trey Palmer. Yeah, I still think McMillan's going to take that job from him, and Trey Palmer's going to be what a speed guy for punt returns, kick returns, that sort of thing. And McMillan will be the wide receiver 3, possibly moving into that wide receiver 2 role, just depending on how good the offense goes with Baker Mayfield and the new OC down there.
Love it, man. Love it. Well, we got to get out of here. Gator, why don't you tell everybody where they can find you, what you guys got going on at Club Fantasy FFL? Because I know you guys got articles coming out. You guys doing videos every day. A lot cooking over there.
Yeah, we've got a lot cooking. There's going to be some more coming out over the next couple days. Tonight is MPI, no pun intended, with Josh and Ryan and Joe. There's an announcement coming on that particular show tonight about a new show that we've got coming. But normally we have Chris B is in the chat here. He and I do Monday night Mocking with the Stars. We've had both of you guys on there. At Tuesday night I do the best ball show with Stacy Perez. Wednesday night we've got so much going on over there. The easiest thing to do is follow at Club Fantasy FFL over there on Twitter. Hit us up on the YouTubes, hit that like, subscribe kind of thing. You can follow me at FantasyJ77. We do. I mean, it's full pedal to the floor going right now.
I love it, man. And there's actually a little rumor floating around that I heard that a potential fantasy alarm analyst might be joining Josh tonight, even perhaps, to talk about a little bit of Patriots, Chargers, and Giants.
I heard that rumor too, but I don't know how true. I don't.
I cannot confirm nor deny that possibly at 7 p.m. Eastern time this evening, that a guy on this show in a maroon shirt might be joining that show. So make sure you're subscribed here. Make sure you're subscribed over there. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out in the chat. Thank you, everybody, for drafting with us. If you would like to draft with us in the future, there's 2 ways right now to do that. 1, become a Fantasy Alarm All-Pro member. That's the easiest way. That gets you into our Discord. It gets you into all the premium channels, baseball, basketball, hockey. Our guy, Mike, MMA, he's like our secret money maker. Whenever we have a bad week, you just look at the schedule, see when the next MMA event is, because Mike Iannone is just printing MMA money over there. PGA, you name it. That gets you everything. It gets you the draft guides. It gets you into our NFL Discord best ball channel, and that's where I post these and say, hey, who wants to draft today? Let's crush one. Let's knock one out of the park. So that's the best way to do it. Howard's grabbing that QR code right there. You can grab it right off the screen or in the description. The other way is we're sneaking people in the back door of the club this year with the best ball guide. So typically to get into the Discord, you got to have the All-Pro membership. This year only, if you do buy a best ball guide, that's up now, fantasyalarm.com/cheat sheet, the best ball cheat sheet. If you buy that now, then we give you permission to the best ball Discord so that you can draft with us, so you can talk best ball with us. So again, either way, get you in. You can hang out with us. You can draft with us and win a bunch of money and win all your leagues, because that's what we do best here at Fantasy Alarm. So Bender, anything you want to give a quick shout out before we get everybody out of here?
No, man. We just want to, you got the QR code here, like, subscribe, all that fun stuff there. And Gator, man, always a pleasure to get to hang with you. And I'm sure plenty more times in the future. So thanks for being here, and thanks everybody out there for tuning into the Fantasy Alarm Show.
Awesome,
Alarm
guys.
Fantasy Football.